name is Dwight Joseph Miller Sr. and from New Orleans, Louisiana. Started music at the grade of 3rd grade. I came professional in 1970. And from then on, up to today, so we're looking at 47 years, something like that. And throughout those years, was playing rhythm and blues with the tenor saxophone. In 1970, I joined a jazz band and was able to do jazz festivals on the post of Jazz Fest. In 1973, traveled to overseas to Europe, Japan, Switzerland. Where else I went? Portugal. And from there came back to the States and was on festivals in California. It came back to New Orleans in 1970. Most of New Orleans had blues clubs in the local bars, and you go into a bar, you hear it, and a guy asked me if you play music. I say I play saxophone, so he hired me in a band, and from there played with him about 5 years, and after that I started my own band, and that was good for 10 years. Just being a musician, it's a lot of fun. Get to meet people, and your music bring you places.
I am Dr. Brice Miller, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a career-long educator. I'm a lifelong musician. I'm the son of a musician, and I've been actively performing professionally since I was around 12 years old. I've been traveling the country since I was 14 years old. I've been traveling the world since I was 17 years old. And music has been a central door opener for me. Everything from being able to attend a prestigious private high school to being able to attend a prestigious private university, all on music scholarship. My dad is Dwight Miller Sr. He is a saxophonist, professional jazz saxophonist. He's one of the founders of the Pinstripe Brass Band, and he grew up in the uptown section of New Orleans and essentially performed music since he was in junior high school. And something that he passed on to me, essentially, you know, in New Orleans, you have the opportunity to be a part of the music and the culture as a part of your everyday geography. So for me, my dad's playing music every day. Musicians are coming to the house every day. So it's something that I naturally gravitated to. It's not something I, stated that I wanted to be a musician, but it was a part of our everyday life.
Louis Armstrong produced the jazz. He was the first one to come up with a different style of jazz music. And everybody followed him. Jelly Roll Morton, Professor Longhair, I think some of the other older guys, musicians, everybody went in his footsteps.
Louis Armstrong is a popular, for us New Orleanians, he's kind of the godfather of New Orleans jazz. He brought New Orleans jazz to the world, but for me, I have a deeper spiritual sense of my music. This music is something that comes, from the heart of black folk, and black folk come from the heart of Africa. New Orleans is the most African city in America, and I gladly say that we're the most northern Caribbean city in the United States. So, we're a city that's composed of the cultures of Africa and of the Caribbean and Jamaica and Haiti, and again, all these places were also a part of the slave trade. And with that, our cultures transgressed to those different places, and they molded and they melded and they became something new. And every time I play my music, I sense something from my ancestors. I'm playing the yells and the cries and the screams and the joys and the praises of my ancestors. So I'm not just playing this music for the sake of entertainment. I'm known for playing my trumpet to the sky. When I play my horn up, and it's because that's my way of praising. That's my spirituality. And You know, I mean, there's been a lot of research in terms of where the music comes from. We know where the music comes from, man. You know, and the music comes from the heart of Africa, the same place that human existence comes from. Human existence comes from the heart of Africa. And the cultural traditions that are those of New Orleans and those of America, you know, we think of the benevolent, we think of dance, we think of food, we think of seasoning, we think of music, we think of rhythm, we think of 2 and 4, we think of gospel, we think of the blues. All that is the music and the culture of black folk. And that is the music and the culture, that is the screams and the rapes and the yells and everything else, from the slave ships to the abandonness of the West African coast, to children being ripped away from their families and wives being ripped away from their husbands and husbands being castrated and wives being raped. And the music that we play to this day is still a replication and still a celebration and still a spirituality of us singing those songs of both praise and sorrow.
It's the culture of New Orleans and the music, the flavor we have here. It's the presence of jazz today and the older guys that was before my time, because we learned a lot of music from them. So I think the younger guys that you see on the street playing music, they're learning the culture of New Orleans jazz.
You know, so, you know, when you do hear the music, you do hear a screaming. And again, my music, I tell people, you know, my music is my therapy. And though I may be playing music to say, you know, get up, let's dance, so and so and so, music is the way that I'm able to call people out. Music is a way that I'm able to call society out. You know, they call it the signifying monkey, which is, again, an African tradition where folk believe that you're saying one thing, but you're really saying something else. And that's what jazz music really is, you know, and that's what Louis Armstrong was able to do. You know, so Louis Armstrong was able to play that same song, Black and Blue, and sing that song on the stage in front of kings and queens around the world. And people cried. But who else would be able to have that platform to do that? So he brought a humanitarian ideology to the world through his music. And Louis Armstrong actually, you know, probably the reason my dad said that and so many people gravitate to Louis Armstrong is because Louis Armstrong was given one of the greatest performative platforms in the world for a black man. But he didn't hold back. He sang those songs. Yeah, he sang songs of joy and celebration, but he also sang songs of hardship and segregation. He has a song that's called Hello Brother, which has become my favorite song. And the song is, a man want to work for his pay, a man want a place in the sun. A man wants a gal to be glad to become his wife. A man wants to work to provide an opportunity for his kids. You know, and it's such a powerful song, and every time I play that song, I cry. That was in the 60s. And he was saying, all a man wants to do, all a black man wants to do, is be a man. He wants to be your brother. Hello, brother. Saying that we're all the same, right? So that's the power of our music. So our music is telling the story of, you know, racism, Jim Crowism, slavery, again, rape, castration, ripped away from families. So it's a powerful thing. And I think it's important for young people to understand that.
Like we said, Louis Armstrong Park, it's not really known as a Congo Square anymore because the Congo Square came up when the Africans, years ago, the slaves used to enjoy their Sundays there, their off days there. That's why it became Congo Square. Like you said, Congo Square, they didn't have instruments during that time. It was only drums and bongos, and it would sing. So that made the culture of New Orleans music. And I can remember the first jazz fest that I played, it was in Congo Square.
Orleans has always been this romantic place. And, you know, if you do your research, you go back to the marketing and media of the city of the early 1900s. That was one of the plans of the early Convention and Visitors Bureau of the tourism industry, was to create this romanticization of New Orleans, of this place that, you know, it's history that's living, and it's jazz, and it's antebellumness, and it's architecture, and it's creolism, all these things these exotic things that you can't find anywhere else. And that still exists to today. A lot of it's bullshit. It's affecting the musicians community. One, you have a lot of outsiders who come here, again, because of the romanticization, right? So they can come here and say, well, I live in New Orleans, a musician. And just because of that, it boasts and boosts who they are. You know, Beyonce's sister, what's her name? Solange. You know, oh, I'm in New Orleans now. I live in New Orleans now. And suddenly her popularity just quadrupled because she started saying she's from New Orleans, right? Because the world has a love affair with New Orleans. The media has a love affair in New Orleans. The cultural community has a love affair in New Orleans. So now these folk move to New Orleans, and it's like, you know, oh, I'm in New Orleans now, and it boasts their career, but it's not doing anything for us. So what it's doing to the local musicians is you have these other musicians who move here from other places, and they just want the popularity, right? They're doing it for marketing. So they're willing to do the gig for a little bit of nothing. Again, many of them come from money. So they're coming here. Money is not a problem for them. Whereas for local musicians, money is the way that we're paying our bills. So they're willing to do a gig for free or for nothing or a little bit of nothing, etc. So then when a local musician try and do the same gig, then the club owner says, wait, we had XYZ who just did this gig for $50. And now you asking me to pay $150 per man. Well, I'm not going to pay you. I'm going to go back to XYZ. So now the local musicians can't make the money that they're making. And on average, local musicians in 2017 are making less money than they were making in 1997. I know that because I was booking musicians and paying musicians.
Now today, most of the musicians don't read music, play by ear. Well, it's a good thing, because when you're in the street, it's like you're not like in a marching band where you have music in front of you, you know? So it's a good thing. You sit at home, you practice, read the music, and when you get on the street, there's still music in front of you.
They're making less money now than they were making then 20 years ago. Many of them can't afford. So, you know, they've been pushed to the outskirts. A lot of musicians I know are now living in St. Bernard Parish. I know musicians who are living in Gonzales, who are living in Baton Rouge, because they can't afford to live in New Orleans. I mean, the average rent in New Orleans starts at literally $1,500 or $1,600 per month for a one bedroom. How many people can afford that? It's not as communal as you might think it was set out to be, you know, which unfortunately kind of represents other aspects of the city.
Hello, brother, hello.